Introduced in 1997, the Glock 28 is not exactly new, but it is new to us. The Glock 28 is a double-stack 380 ACP, basically the exact same gun as the subcompact Glock 26 and 9mm, with some minor differences we'll get into. It's been said that Glock introduced the Glock 28 and its big brother, the Glock 25, primarily as a way to sidestep South American gun laws. Glock wanted to sell the Glock 19 and the Glock 26 in South America, but they couldn't do that because of these weird-ass South American gun laws whereby average citizens can't own guns and calibers used by the military. The Glock 25 and Glock 28 are born. Making the Glock 19 and the Glock 26 in 380, it waltzed around this military caliber import ban, but at the same time also prevented the Glock 25 and 28 from being imported into the United States, ironically. U.S. gun import laws put in place to deter, of all things, Saturday night specials created this complicated pistol importation system that scores handguns with points for certain features such as size and caliber. The Glock 28, as a tiny 380, couldn't get enough points to be importable from Austria, so for 26 years, this gun was virtually unobtainium for Americans because it was deemed to be a Saturday night special, if you can believe that. An easy way to work around an import ban? Simply don't import it. There are a few rare Austrian Glock 28s in the country that were probably brought in as law enforcement department purchases, but as of today, the Glock 28 is finally available in the U.S. because it's going to be made at Glock's factory in Smyrna, Georgia, to the same spec as the Austrian model. No import required. Talo, T-A-L-O, am I saying that right? Talo Distributors, they orchestrated this deal. And if your local gun store is set up with them or my distributor of choice, Lipsy's, I strongly recommend that you have your shop call Lipsy's or Talo today to get a 28, not tomorrow, today, just in case this becomes a limited release and they're probably going to sell out of the first batch. But what would you buy a Glock 28 for? After all, you can get a perfectly fine Glock 26 in a caliber made for men, and the guns are virtually identical. And I know this is hard because it's really difficult to convince you guys to buy another gun, especially when it's another gun from the same brand you already like. So if you need a little shove, which you probably don't, think about it. The only Glock 380 we could get yesterday in the United States, the Glock 42, is overlooked. It's significantly smaller and lighter than the Glock 43 and 9mm, and it's much easier shooting. In fact, I would think a Glock 42 versus Glock 43 versus 26 versus 28 face-off in the near future would be fun for the channel. For that matter, the Glock 26 and the Glock 28 are indeed very similar. Both are subcompact double stacks, except the 26, of course, shoots 9mm, while the 28 shoots 380. The frames are identical, or at least they appear to be, because I can easily swap uppers between the two, as you can see in this clip. Now, the slide, the barrel, and the recoil system appear to be different, but not much. Obviously, the magazines are different. One's 9, one's 380, but they have the same external dimensions because they use the same size frame. Glock actually added some fencing to the back of the 380 magazine so baby 9mm can fit in mommy and daddy 9mm size houses, and you can tell your mags apart from the exterior. The Glock 28 is the same size as the Glock 26. It even uses the same holsters, but it's a little over an ounce lighter. The biggest difference is in the operating system. I've always heard that the Glock 28 uses a straight blowback operating system, similar to what you find on most imported 380s like the Walther PPK or the Beretta Cheetah. The gun having no delay device, the slide just riding back and forth on the frame, nothing locking it in and out of place other than recoil spring tension. Glock said that this 28, the US-made 28 I have, is the same as the European Glock 28. So imagine my surprise when it looks to me, I'm like, this just looks like a modified version of the short recoil system used by all the rest of all the other Glocks. The barrel seems to tilt slightly. If you kind of ride the slide back, you definitely feel what seems like a locking and unlocking point, probably caused by this weird beveling on top of the chamber, which is the only difference that I can tell between the 26 barrel and the 28 other than the caliber. Maybe it is a straight blowback, but it certainly looks like a weird one or a modified version. That said, I hear people complain about recoil being snappy out of this gun, but anytime you have a straight blowback 380, doesn't matter what it is, people say it's snappy. The Cheetah, oh, it's so snappy in 380. No, it's not, really. Not the case here either. On the range, the Glock 28 is exactly what you would expect. It's a really light shooting Glock 26. The 28 is probably the most fun Glock to shoot. Super light recoiling, easy to stay on target, just a barrel full of monkeys. It's like more powerful than a 22, so you still feel like you're shooting a real gun, but you can really go fast on it, like the moped of guns. Myself and Sam, the manager over here at the brand new Neutral Ground Gun Company in New Orleans, make sure to check them out. We were giggling like a couple of schoolgirls on the range with the 28. It's just good, wholesome fun. Our targets are really interesting, at least our first set of targets were, because we would get 5 or 6 or 7 rounds right on top of each other and a couple of flyers every time. It was almost like every third round would go wildly off target while most rounds would go into a group near the center. We hypothesized that maybe the Ammo Inc. 380 we were using might not be up to the task as regular old range swill. And I think we were right, because we switched over to Fiocchi 380 hollowed point made for personal defense, and as you can see here, the groups got significantly tighter when we used that ammo. My first target, I put 8 rounds into one hole, and then another round on either side, probably a little bit more than 1.5 inches in diameter, 7 rounds, and that was my first magazine of shooting self-defense ammo. But even with the plain Jane iron sights, I can safely say that this pistol is certainly lighter recoiling, and for me, it was faster to get on target with this, with the lower recoil, and it could arguably be more accurate than its 9mm twin, the 26, but we're going to have a face-off sometime soon. So it's easier to shoot, but 380 has a reputation for being a little anemic and an underperforming caliber, like Clint Smith says. When you're carrying them, none of them can be too small. When you're fighting with them, none of them can be too big. And he also says, I wouldn't have a 380 up my ass if I had room for a tugboat. Wise words indeed from Uncle Clint. But look, if any of us knew that we were going to have to defend ourselves with a handgun today, if we left the house, we'd probably be hoisting around the biggest iron we owned. But realistically, almost everyone watching this video, not including myself, will never have to use a handgun in self-defense. That creates calculation between carryability and performance, terminal performance. 380 understandably fell out of favor over the past few decades as a concealed carry gun because it was seen as weak. But now, guns are getting smaller while performance of the 380 is embiggening. There are now a number of 380 rounds that will meet or exceed FBI terminal ballistics guidelines and still give good expansion. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but very carefully research and choose your 380 personal defense ammunition. There are only a couple of 380 rounds that'll both penetrate the minimum depth of 12 inches through ballistic gel and still expand to about a ½ inch. I recommend 99 grain Federal HST based on the testing I've seen. It seems to universally perform well. Back to the subject at hand, why get a double stack 380 when you can get a double stack subcompact 9mm, the exact same size, basically the same weight, just more power? 1, the 380 is going to be a little bit lighter and a little bit easier to carry than the 26. Just an ounce, but the ounce counts. 2, the big one here, which raises the question of why I didn't do this one as one, reduced recoil. I think the Glock 26 is an outstanding subcompact. I don't find it hard to control, love shooting it. But for some shooters out there, 9mm in a tiny little plastic pistol like this can be a little overbearing. 380 works well for guys who can already shoot 9mm. With reduced recoil, faster follow-up shots on target, it'll increase your performance. But if you're someone like my mom, Connie, you might have a little bit of a rough time with a full-bore 9mm in a tiny subcompact pistol like the Glock 26. While I'm thinking about it, my mom shoots a Smith & Wesson 380 EZ Shield, and I see the 28 as a pistol that could be the Shield EZ's main competition for the AARP market space. And it makes a lot of sense because it's going to be easier to shoot, but the same size as a larger 9mm gun. Okay, then at that point, why not just carry the Ruger LCP Max? That's really impressive. It's smaller, but it's got the same capacity of the Glock 28. Look at this. LCP Max right here, 11 total rounds of 380, and the Glock 28, 11 total rounds of 380, and you can see how much smaller this pistol is Is it a good idea then to just carry the LCP Max? It's a smaller package, same capacity, same caliber. Well, first of all, it's got a barrel that's about 1.5 inches shorter, 2 inches versus 3.5 inches in the Glock 28. You're going to get a lot better terminal performance, which you really, 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 really need with 380 in order to maximize its effectiveness. So that. And then also I submit to you, getting a smaller gun in 380 defeats the purpose of the 28. If you get a 380 in a 9mm frame, it's going to be easy to shoot. It is easy to shoot. You make it even smaller, and now you're just stuck with a hard-to-shoot, even tinier gun. There's a niche for 9mm size 380s, and that's what Glock is in. Thus, the Glock 28 is not the most efficient handgun in terms of power and capacity to size. After all, it's quite literally the size of a 9mm Glock, while offering no additional capacity and only a slight weight reduction. But that's not really the point. This is a pistol chambered in what many consider to be the easiest to use, viable personal defense caliber, but big enough to be comfortably handled, still small enough to be easy to conceal, plus the huge bonus of being able to use Glock 19 and Glock 26 holsters, which have been produced for decades. Buy a Glock 28 today if you're lucky, and you've got your pick of hundreds of holsters whenever you get home on the internet. As far as downsides to the Glock 28, other than what we've gone over, because I know a bunch of you are saying, well, I ain't gonna buy no 380, that's the size of my 9mm dadgummit. Fair, I get it. But to me, the only drawback I see with the Glock 28 is the fact that there's no MOS version. While more and more manufacturers are treating optics readiness as standard, my close personal friends at Glock make it available, but it seems like the Austrian powerhouse has been a little bit more reluctant to get aggressive on optics mounting solutions for all of their models. I don't see an optics ready version for this. It's also got this slick dust cover with no light mounting option, but only a third of you, as it turns out, actually use lights with your carry guns, and I know my mom doesn't. That all said, I might mess around with the Glock 28 a little bit. Maybe I'll carry it. Maybe I'll shoot it a little bit more to see if the benefits of reduced recoil and reduced weight are worth the significant trade-off of reduced power. Once I filled this gun with premium, it ran very well at the range, and it was flat out fun. It'd be easy to shoot, like for your mom or for your wife or for anybody, not to be sexist or whatever, because that was all women, but you know, anyone who has a hard time, I guess people who drink those vodka soda things, White Claws, yeah, for those guys. This might be something for people who cannot handle 9mm recoil in a subcompact package. It ran very well at the range and was flat out fun to shoot. Price will be the same as every other plain Jane Glock 26, around $500 or so. Easy to carry, easy to shoot, easy to love. Time will tell, but I know Glock fanboys like myself will buy this for their wives, but for some reason keep it in their trucks and take it to the range all the time and get their initials engraved on the slide probably, and really never let their wives shoot it ever anyways. So go ahead and buy one for your wife and take it to the range and thank me later. Speaking of thanking people, thank you Ventura Munitions for sending the 380 ammo that we ran through this gun. Not really impressed with the ammo ink stuff, but the Fiocchi, shot great. Thank you to Top Gun Supply, your online shooting sports superstore. These guys give away 6 $250 gift certificates to our supporters on Utreon and Subscribestar only. If you are signed up at the $5 level or higher on Utreon or Subscribestar/TFBTV, you are automatically entered to win one of 6 free gift certificates for $250 from Top Gun Supply every single month for your support. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching.